Hello, everyone, and welcome to 9-Inch Charge, and welcome to another episode of The Two Dannies. How are you doing, Dan?
I'm good, thank you. You all right?
I'm very good. Dan, in my hands, I have something to show you. Something that you'll be very familiar with. Don't pull that face. In my hands, I have the Two Dannies beer mat.
Ah.
Now, these beer mats are what me and Dan take to the pub and we rest our pints on. And we're giving them away to anybody who is a Patreon or a YouTube member. So make sure you have a look and check that out if you want to do that. It would help us to put something on top of the beer mats. That would be really handy. And we'll give you something to go into your beer in return. So if you want to support the channel, if you'd like one of those, please check that out. But today, we've got a question from Ian F, who asks, how do you stick to a long-term project and not get sidetracked or become a hobby butterfly? And how do you actually get your projects done? And how do you keep your motivation for those?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, obviously, we kind of both got experience here. You clearly have been a Wood Elf player forever. And they've been, but in a way, you've broken those up into lots of different projects, haven't you? So you haven't just built one big army for the whole time. You've done different ones. And then I've got my Khorne army, which is, sort of 8,000 points now. But I've had that since Age of Sigmar started, and it's just sort of bubbling away. I think the first thing to say is, like, I've not come across anyone that's just really great at long-term projects all the time. So for every one that has succeeded, which is really my Khorne army, there are many that have fallen by the wayside or been very expensive, buy and sell on mistakes. It's interesting because it can be really frustrating to hobby butterfly around. You can get frustrated with yourself and you can think, oh, what have I done over the last year? But I have found what works for me is I've got my big project, which my Khorne army was a big project for a long time, but I had little breaks and then didn't beat myself up over it. That's the key thing. So one thing I'm really trying to do over the last sort of 6 months is accept that I like butterflying around, but I've got 4 projects I want to do this year. And then I'm just pinging between them. And sometimes I've got bits on the hobby desk from 2 or 3. And I think the hardest part is right at the beginning when you haven't got anything, because you can't, it takes a lot. We're trying to get more time going, for example, right now. But starting from nothing, you've got the terrain and the war bands to get done. And that's big before you can actually get miniatures on the table, or can be quite big. So save all your energy, do some stuff as a little group or whatever right at the beginning until you can start getting stuff on the table. Because it's different for different people, but certainly for me, gaming motivates me quite a lot.
Yeah, and we always say, don't we, that we want to play with painted miniatures, so that gives us something to aim for. And I think having something to aim for helps. So when I was doing my New Year's resolutions this year, last year I just picked to do all my backlog and it didn't really work. And I was speaking to Chris Goff about it, and he was like, well, why don't you pick something going forward that you can kind of work towards rather than sit, because you're going to get excited about new stuff. That's just going to happen. So you should have something in the future. So, for example, I know that Thornbury Crusades is coming out, so that'll be on the list. But also, I want to play. I have played some games like Wood Elves, but I want to play more and engage more with the people who are playing Warhammer Fantasy in the area. So one of my goals this year is to paint a tournament army and take it to a tournament. So that's kind of my goal in the future that will kind of keep me on track a bit. And tournaments did really help before, because that helped me when I started, and I was like Pure Wanderers, and then I was Mixed Order, and then I was living cities of Sigmar, living cities and stuff like that. Like I tried to keep up a bit, but I think what I found is that it's not really the faction that I like. it's the theme that I like, and then once you've got that down, then it broadens things out a bit, and I could do more working within the theme of having a green nature army than I could just having a specific model range, and I could put more in. But depends on the games you play, because some games they will pigeonhole you quite a lot, and then other games will let you broaden that out. But there's nothing to stop you doing conversions or adding in stuff that you think is cool. As long as the people you're playing with are cool with that.
I think also beware, like, tagging yourself. Beware taking on projects because other people are doing that. They can often, if your hobby enthusiasm is driven purely by whatever's going on in the group at the time, you could end up finding yourself quite frustrated because people ping around. So I'm awful. I actively try not to convince people to do an army alongside whatever project I'm doing, because I just go boom, 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 and go all over the place all the time. So, 1 minute I'm going to sell everything and only play 10mm games. The next minute I haven't looked at the Warmaster because I'm, building some kind of mad Mordheim thing, or then I'm painting a Mordor troll. But whatever I'm doing at the time is absolutely the most exciting thing ever. I'm renowned for getting really carried away.
So how did you, in amidst doing all those different things, manage to bring it back to your core?
This is just such a cliche, but I think the trouble, I just love them. For some reason, I've never really been able to replicate it either, that passion and love for Khorne. Like it's when I say that, I don't know. I mean, I guess like for Necromunda, Cawdor are my absolute love, and they're the only one I've got. For Blood Bowl, I've just got the Orc team, and I've very focused on them because I really like them. I just think that Khorne, I know there's a lot of, for some people they're two-dimensional, and they just do one thing, or they all, they're basically red, brass, and bone. But I love that. I love the miniatures. I love the aesthetic. I think it's really cool because you can get some good effects on the painting if you want to, with a bit of blood for the blood god. And I've got a very clear process for how I paint them as well, which I can apply to each different model within the range. So I know how, if the flesh is demonic, it gets painted a certain way. If it's armor, it's painted a certain way. If it's the gold, it's painted a certain way. So I don't sort of get overwhelmed or worried when they bring out a new model, because I've just got this process. I'm very comfortable whenever I've got to paint anything Khorne.
One of the things for me that keeps me on track and excited about a project is immersing myself in it in different ways. So if I'm painting an army up, I might be watching a battle report of that army playing a game, or I could be listening to an audio book that is that's based around a character from that range or something like that. And there are bits in that, like if you watch a battle report or something like goes really well, like you think, oh, wouldn't it be great if I could do that? Or you listen to about like, a hero slaying something or someone or something, and you think, oh yeah, aren't they cool or whatever? And that kind of just builds it a bit more, I think. But yeah, same as you. I mean, I do love my Wood Elves. That isn't going to change. I mean, Chris, when I played Mordheim last night, I brought a Wood Elf Warband just because they're the models that I've got that are like ready to go. And Chris was like, I think you should do something different. And then I just heard from the back of the room your bellowing voice. I've been telling him that for 20 years.
Yeah. Good luck. I've been telling him that for 20 years.
Okay. And we don't have a poll for this one, but I do have another poll. So I asked, is it 2 Dannys with a Y or 2 Dannys IES? And the reason why is because I spelled it lots of different ways. And I think when I first started doing it, I spelt it Danny's IES because it's like the 2 Ronnies. But But the problem with that is that there are people out there who, or quite a lot of people, that actually find the two Ronnies quite entertaining and funny. And I think that it would be quite it would be quite wrong for us to try and conflate ourselves with that. But one other thing I thought maybe it could be like a secret code. This is what the Yogscast did when they had the Yognauts. This could be a secret code. So if you're more of a Dan kind of person, you could spell it with a Y. But if you are more of a Dan kind of person, you could spell it IES. So I put it to the poll, and it came back that 39% of people spell it IES, and 61 would spell it with a Y. Except for one person, of course. And you know who this will be. Too Much Devlin. Who spells it sort of Klingon. Danese. Bit Klingon there.
Right.
So yeah, but let us know if you're, if you're more of a Dan person or more of a Dan person by using the secret code. And like, subscribe, all of that, and we will catch you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you very much for watching. Please be sure to leave a comment and let me know what you think. I do read every single comment. If you've enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a like. And if you'd like to see more content like this in the future, please consider subscribing to the channel. Now, I'd really like to use this time to thank those of you who support us on Patreon, or those of you who are YouTube members. You guys have entered the Hall of Heroes, and you really are champions in our eyes, and we raise our glasses to you and salute you. You help make it possible for us to do what we do and invest in our equipment, help pay for the hosting of the audio of the podcast, and all kinds of other things. Now, if you would like to support the channel, the absolute best way to do this is to join the ranks of the Hall of Heroes and to sign up either by Patreon or YouTube members, and there's a link in the description below. And we also have some exclusive merchandise only available there as well. So a huge thank you to Cedar Kuru Khan. This has been 9 Inch Charge, and I will catch you next time.